And I ask now the head prefect of the school to come up with his annual address. And I hear that young Marthinus Erasmus is an above-average academic. He plays in the water polo first team. He plays rugby and the other games. But they tell me he has an ability to pull chicks. And I want to tell you something. That is something to be admired. And I ask Marthinus to come and address you.
Good evening, honored guests, fellow old boys, not fellow, sorry, old boys. Based on past incidents, you have 4 options on how to handle the Gamtoes situation. If you happen to bump into Gamtoes, you can either ask him for his signature, or you can take a selfie with him. A few have dared to invite him on social media and chat about the comfort of his grave within the East Bell Tower. The majority, however macho, even those in schoolhouse, would run around screaming for help. While supporting the Candies on Brooks, when that opposing fly-off misses a sitter, do you let that fly-off know exactly what you think of him? Or do you clap politely and just be grateful that our own number 10 hasn't shanked any yet? Or do you take the burden upon yourself to yell, "Shanka!" and proceed to inform the entire Northern Gauteng district of what you think of him? A teacher thinks that a boy may be bunking class and asks you of his whereabouts. Did you attempt to confuse her and claim that he was attacked by a heavy spell of co-inoniphobia? For those of you who don't know, is the fear of classrooms. Did you take the safe option of, "Oh, ma'am, he's absent"? I'm sure that there are some of the old boys sitting here tonight that can remember trying to be the best mates in the world by explaining to the teacher that if it wasn't for the boys' high bro code, you would tell her that he was bunking on the koppie in the forest. But having dealt with the situation myself, most of us would respectfully question her as to how she could have the audacity to even suggest such a thing, while manipulating the conversation onto a sad account of the deterioration of trust in the school environment. The manner in which many of us deal with these situations involve the guidelines of the Bro Code, or the so-called Boys' High Way. From our first nerve-wracking day at Boys' High, we were told about the respect, the traditions, and values that make up the way of life we were adopting. We slowly but surely became of the passionate brotherhood. Hopefully, you can remember flashbacks of your school days, dealing with similar, if not the same situations that us boys have the privilege of dealing with every day. I've been told on several occasions that the old boys bond is like the Illuminati. After doing some research, I came to the conclusion that this is a lie. There's no way that my school does human sacrifices and runs the world. Unless, of course, these things happen in schoolhouse, which might explain the odd behavior, the tight bond of those borders. But I also found out that we have a school producing men that are ready for life, as we have old boys that take up key roles in our country and around the world. An extract from the Old Boys website says the following: Boys' High is one of the great South African schools, not only because of its grounds and buildings, but also because of the caliber of person it produces. Great men have walked the corridors of this school before you. Among others, 2 Nobel Prize winners, 18 Rhodes Scholars, 2 university principals, at least 8 Supreme Court judges, an archbishop, a bishop, 32 high school headmasters, 5 Springbok rugby cricket players, 4 Springbok rugby players, and many other great men. I'm sure most of you are aware of this, but I want to elaborate on the other great men. These are the mates that you had to cover while they enjoyed festive activities up on the Koppie. These are the guys that played E-team and put their bodies on the line to prevent that single goal from coming in against a school you've never even heard of. And the fixture was on a Wednesday night. These are the rebels that fought for every second of that free period you were in need of. These guys were probably the ones that could justify the game of touch, the nap, the scroll around the school, the second nap, the support for the chess game, the third nap, and the exploration of the Koppie, all in the afternoon before a final exam. Unfortunately though, many of them, Guido, will also have to justify their second or third year of matric. There's something very special about our school that we so dearly love, but the influence it has on boys seems to have a delayed effect, almost as if Boys Eye produces late bloomers. These boys do, however, make up the majority of our school. It goes without saying that many of you were those boys. Boys who valued life experiences above anything else. I had my doubts, but after a conversation I had with the old boy yesterday, he reassured me about this in saying, you know, the boys that were the biggest pieces of rubbishes come to the reunions. Good evening, fellow pieces of rubbishes. Judging by the fancy cars and classy mannerisms seen tonight, you have definitely all been recycled into fine specimens of successful men. However you define success, the Boys Eye old boys are simply boys trapped in adult bodies that pertain a zest for life, and they walk tall with that certain type of confidence. To conclude, I want to tell you that I'm attending the same school with the same values and the same traditions that you experienced. I also tend to polish a naked boy's bum on the bronze plate by the secretary office every morning. I may not know why, but I do it because it's manly. I also believe that we are sitting in the hall of the greatest school that has ever existed, and so do current 1,500 boys. Never forget the Boys Eye way. After all, it was on these 85 acres of tradition that you learned how to live.
What a wonderful, articulate and erudite young man young Marthinus Erasmus is. And he has, I can see, far greater attributes than just pulling chicks. And from Townhouse, nogal. At least he has the same mischievous delight as I have in taking the piss out of schoolhouse. Well done, Marthinus. When I asked the headmaster, Tony Reeler, about you, he said your greatest quality is probably leadership. And the school has been in good hands in your year. Well done.